Apple is highly dependent on an extensive supply chain in China. So much so, there are predictions that new tariffs could raise the cost of the iPhone XS by $160. Investment banking company JP Morgan estimated an iPhone price increase of around 14% would be needed to absorb the impact of a 25% tariff.
When it's actually defined, I think, to what are the components being used and things that are in it, I actually think the tariff cost is less than 14%, could be even lower. And then Apple could maybe split the difference. They do 7% to the customer, 7% they absorb. Either way, it's going to affect the customer, and either way, it's going to impact Apple.
Apple CEO Tim Cook has lobbied the Trump administration in hopes of minimizing the impact of the trade war. But Beharin says at the same time, Apple continues to search for ways to diversify its supply chain and not just depend on China.
You can't do it overnight. One of their big suppliers is already moving what they do for Apple over to Indonesia. Pegatron's going to do that. You could actually see over the next 3 years a massive development where the Compals and even the Foxconns expand their factories outside of China, which would be dramatically difficult and a very big problem for China.
In every aspect of the trade war, the consumer pays for that, but the question is at what level, at what cost? Is it worth getting intellectual property? Is it worth protecting jobs? Is it worth protecting a trade imbalance?
As the U.S. puts pressure on companies doing business with Chinese tech giant Huawei, there's also talk of whether China could retaliate by imposing its own tariffs on Apple products.
Tariffs on Apple products in China would be kind of tough. And here's the reason. Apple sales and shares in China in the market is already really low, right? Samsung's not even in the market. The local players are doing the best. Apple is like a premium luxury good at this moment in China. So it's not the dominant player, dominant OS. Everyone's picking up local phones. There's also a sentiment in China at this moment, oh my God, you have an American phone.
The one thing at the moment that worries me more is this attitude inside China right now, of which they look at something like an Apple product or an American product in a very negative way.
So while many analysts agree that Apple will be able to weather the trade war's extra costs, it could be the psychological impact of the tariffs that prove to be more damaging over the long haul. Mark New, CGTN, Mountain View, California.